Not every NFL franchise enters the year on the same timeline. Their goal may be to win the Super Bowl in training camp, but a team like the Houston Texans, led by a rookie quarterback in CJ Stroud and rookie head coach in DeMeco Ryans, are not expected to compete for a Super Bowl this year. However, other teams have high expectations entering the season and haven't exactly started the year on the right foot. Injuries are unfortunately a part of football, and they can derail a team's season, and quick. And there are some teams we are going to discuss in today's video that both haven't had a great start to the year and have been hit by the injury bug, leaving them in a tough situation. And in the teams in today's video's case, they are in a desperate situation at this point early in the 2023 NFL season. Not every situation is created equal, and we're going to break down why each team is in today's video. Now let's begin. And we are starting today's video with the New England Patriots. The Patriots entered the year with maybe not necessarily Super Bowl expectations, but certainly expected to go to the playoffs and maybe even win a playoff game. But through 2 weeks, they're 0-2 with not one but 2 home losses, and their schedule, especially down the stretch, isn't easy. Week 3 is a must-win game against the Jets, and I would be extremely surprised if they go into Dallas and win, and think that game will be low-scoring and that Dallas will come out on top, meaning at best, New England will probably be 1-3 through 4 games. And this is what I feared for them entering the year. We're in a pivotal year with Mac Jones, and I understand why Patriots fans were defending him all off-season, because Matt Patricia was, well, awful last year as an offensive coordinator, and it's also almost second nature to defend your quarterback. It is what it is. But we're now 2 games in Mac Jones' 3rd year, and the weapons are still bad, and through 2 games, the leading receiver is Hunter Henry with just 108 yards. And honestly, I think that's a shame because I think Matt can be a solid quarterback in the NFL, but the Patriots have not done a good job of surrounding him with talent since he was drafted back in 2021. And what's even worse for New England is their running backs aren't playing great either, as in 2 games, Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott have 117 rushing yards on a combined 39 carries, which comes out to an average of 3 yards per carry, with the longest run between the two at just 12 yards. We knew entering the year offense was probably going to be a problem, and not surprisingly, it is. This was my biggest concern for the Patriots entering the year, and truly, what do you do if you're New England? Your top 3 receivers are Devontae Parker, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Kendrick Bourne. Do you try and call Denver about Jerry Jeudy and try and bring him in, or do you just let it go and continue not to be great offensively because you simply don't have the weapons other teams do? And this is why I think they're in a desperate situation, because the defense is playing great, and that should be expected under Bill Belichick, but on average they're getting off the field and allowing less yards per drive than a lot of other defenses across the league. But because the offense can't run the football, as in at all, the offense ranks 26th in average time per drive, meaning the defense has to make stop after stop after stop just to try and have a chance to win. And the Patriots only have 37 points through 2 games, and the bottom line is you're not going to win a lot of games like this. My biggest fear for New England is exactly what I think will happen, and that's win at least 6 or 7 games, not make the playoffs, and miss out on an elite talent in the draft again. There's talk about other teams being stuck in mediocrity like Washington after 2 decades under Dan Snyder, at least prior to the 2-0 start, but to me the Patriots are currently stuck in mediocrity. Including the 2020 season, they've went 7-9, 10-7 and made the playoffs only to get smoked by 30 points in the wild card round, went 8-9 in 2022 and are now 0-2 with 2 home losses to playoff teams to start the 2023 season. I don't see a great way out of this situation for the Patriots. Next up is the Cincinnati Bengals, and this situation is very murky moving forward for a few reasons. The first, of course, is the quarterback situation, and I don't think Joe Burrow is anywhere close to fully healthy, and I know a lot of Bengals fans feel the same way. And that was before the tweak of the calf injury late in the Ravens game. I truly think the best thing for this team right now is to shut him down for a few weeks and to let him fully recover. Wide receiver Jamar Chase even said this during training camp when the injury happened. Let him rest, we'll hang in there while he's out, and most importantly, we'll get a healthy Joe Burrow for November, December, and January when we need him. But they opted to play Burrow in the first 2 weeks, and what's frustrating about this is this situation was not necessarily preventable because Joe ultimately did get hurt in training camp, but could have been handled in a completely different way. And through 2 games, Burrow is 0 of 6 on deep passes that are considered 20 plus yards from the line of scrimmage. And obviously, the further you throw the ball downfield, the less percent chance you're going to complete a pass. But for reference, Burrow was 25 of 64 in 2022 with 10 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. And I understand the game in the rain against the Browns wasn't ideal weather conditions for Joe to light it up, but this is where I understand the Bengals' frustration with head coach Zach Taylor. Neither Joe nor Deshaun could throw the ball in week 1 due to the poor weather, so I don't think this is a hot take, but why didn't they try and run the ball more than they did? That wouldn't have changed the result against the Browns per se, but it probably would have netted better offensive results. And against the Ravens in week 2, there wasn't a lot of extending the play from Burrow, and obviously when you can take away a part of a guy's game, it's going to make it easier to defend. And not only that, but the Bengals are now down 2 games in their own division. I know the immediate thought is something along the lines of they started 0-2 last year and still made the AFC Championship game, but that doesn't automatically mean they'll get back this year. Not with what is surrounding this team at the moment. And the Bengals aren't just 0-2. They're 0-2 with 2 division losses. And that's a big reason why they're in today's video, along with the uncertainty of Joe Burrow moving forward. Not only that, but the Bengals can't stop the run, and that could be an even bigger problem down the stretch. They've allowed nearly 400 yards rushing in 2 games to division opponents. It wasn't like the Browns just found Nick Chubb and decided to play him in week 1, and everyone knew how good Nick Chubb was entering that game, and the same thing applies to the Ravens in week 2. It's not like you didn't know how good their ground game was and what they were ultimately going to try and do, yet each team not only beat the Bengals, but each ran for over 175 yards. Will they be fine in the long run? Probably, because there is a ton of talent on this team, but right now things are very ugly for the Bengals. From the Queen City to the Big Apple to discuss the Giants, and I understand they're 1-1, but there's a lot of things to me at least that go against the Giants, and why I am concerned with them moving forward. I am releasing this the day they play the 49ers, and maybe this will age poorly, but I think they're going to lose to the 49ers by at least a touchdown, if not double digits, and given the Giants haven't exactly been great at stopping the run so far, I think they're going to run the ball on this team a lot, and it's going to be a lot of bully ball, meaning the 49ers are going to bully the Giants. But where I have my concerns with the Giants is this next batch of games they have coming up is insanely difficult, as they play Seattle, in Miami, and in Buffalo. And to be completely honest, I think they'll be 2-4 at best through 6 games, and even the Washington game in week 7 isn't an easy game. So we are in a real scenario here where the Giants could be 2-5 through 7 games, and let's say even if they get through this stretch at 4-3 or 5-2, do we really think they can go into Philly or Dallas in the playoffs with the season on the line with this roster and beat one of those teams? Absolutely not, and this isn't an anti-Daniel Jones segment, this is an anti-Giants offensive line segment, as Giants fans know Mark Glowinski is terrible and has allowed 10 pressures and 3 sacks through 2 games. For reference, Cowboys guard Zach Martin allowed 17 pressures in the entire 2022 season, and we've only played 2 games, and one was against a team that will be competing for the number 1 overall pick, and a team you narrowly beat. This team started the year down 60-0 through 6 quarters, and it's a shame because I really like Brian Dable, and I really like Joe Shane, but we did a team preview for them and for every team this summer, but I thought the Giants were fighting an uphill battle, and through 2 weeks, that looks like exactly what they're doing. Kayvon Thibodeau had 40 pressures last year after missing a few games, but has just 2 pressures in 2 games this year, which obviously isn't going to cut it. And by the way, I'm not saying to never be excited about a win in the NFL, because a singular win is hard enough to accomplish, let alone multiple, but the Week 2 game against the Cardinals was one that shouldn't have been anywhere close to as difficult as it was, especially coming off the disastrous Week 1 game against Dallas. But my long-term fear for the Giants is that 2-4 start through 6 games and still having 11 games to play and having to go 8-3 the rest of the way to make the playoffs when you play teams like Dallas on the road, the Eagles twice, and the Saints on the road in your final 11 games. I think this will prove to be a case of having the coaching but not the talent, and Saquon getting hurt in week 2 obviously doesn't help things, and that also plays into why I think week 3 in San Francisco could get very ugly for the Giants. Whether it's Daniel Jones or anybody at quarterback, heading into a place like San Francisco and having to play these other teams in the ensuing weeks with a poor offensive line and your best offensive player out is a recipe for disaster. Next up is the Cleveland Browns, and this is a tough situation for several reasons. Losing a franchise running back for the year at minimum is tough, and no, I'm not going to show the Chubb injury, but this team scares me in terms of how far they can go. I know we did a video last week on them and how they were one of the biggest winners from week 1, which they were. But things can change quick in the NFL, and nobody anticipated losing the centerpiece of their offense, especially in the manner they did, which in turn now forces Deshaun Watson to step up and to lead this team to success. And there was already a lot of pressure on Watson entering the year with the contract and the 3 first-round picks that were traded to acquire him, and of course the off-the-field issues too. But focusing on the field here with Deshaun, he hasn't been good since playing for the Browns. We are past the rust period. We're past the, oh, he'll just shake it off and he'll be fine. I think we're in a reality where this is who he is now as a player, and because the Browns restructured his contract this past offseason, which was already hard to do because it was a fully guaranteed deal, his contract is now a 3-year deal with him getting paid $64 million per year, or if you want to be specific, $63.97 million per year, which is a substantial problem. This team has the defense, and that much is evident, and the Nick Chubb injury, of course, aside, the most frustrating part of the Steelers' loss in week 2 was they had no business being in this game. The Browns held them to 9 first downs for the entire game. 9, and they still lost despite allowing just 55 rushing yards and forcing 2 turnovers. This isn't an exaggeration to say all the Browns offense had to do in this game was not lose them the game, and Cleveland wins by double digits. They could have easily won this game, something along the lines of 20-7, because the George Pickens touchdown was a great play by George, but aside from that, for this team to be 1-1 and to now have to face 2 tough opponents in the Titans and the Ravens before their week 5 bye, which by the way already puts them at an extreme disadvantage with having a bye that early in the season, makes it even tougher for Cleveland to succeed this year. And limiting a team to 184 yards of offense outside of 1 play while giving up 2 defensive touchdowns is awful. And yes, the Browns signed Kareem Hunt, but I don't think a 28-year-old back who showed decline last year is going to save the day. This defense through 2 games at least is a Super Bowl caliber defense, and the defense itself has allowed a singular touchdown in 2 games. And with their best offensive player in the past 25 years now done for the year, the Browns are in a very desperate situation because now, even more than ever before, their future almost relies solely on Deshaun Watson's shoulders. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please like the video and subscribe, as only about 23% of people watching are subscribed and makes a big difference. Also, check out Underdog Fantasy with the link in the description, as there's an insane prop for week 3, and I highly recommend you check it out. And until the next video, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.